So, do you have like a particular approach to how you like write stuff, or is it like more like you evoke? It comes from a feeling, and then what's your kind of your process?
It's kind of messy. I won't lie at the moment, and I'm trying to refine it into making it a bit more kind of refined. But it does come from like either a personal experience or something that I'm passionate about. Whether it's Black history, an experience with the police, seeing how kind of social environments are in the area I work and live in.
Yeah.
And then I will try and kind of create a story with that. As well as maybe drawing on some academic insights or things to try and affirm my viewpoint. And it's all kind of stored in my phone on the notes section, and it's
classic.
Going back to it as the days go on, as the months go on. Sometimes I won't edit it for a month or two, and that'll bring new insight. But I wanna develop that aspect of how I create a poem and maybe brainstorm a bit more, because sometimes I think back, I could have done this, I could have said this. Maybe if I gave myself a bit more time to think and to brainstorm, I could have developed it a bit more. If that makes sense.
It's a really hard one though as well, because you got to like draw the line at some point. You could always be like going back and like changing like slightest phrase and stuff. But yeah, I listened to it earlier on, man. I was going through Instagram, and it was so moving. Like it honestly, some of it like hurt. It was so real. I was like, holy fuck, in a good way, you know.
Yeah,
it was just beautiful to listen to. And yeah, would you say it's like a 50-50 thing between like personal experience and like watching from other people as well?
100%. Yeah. So kind of growing up in Hardwick, it's an area with like a history of gang and gun violence, drug use, and high levels of deprivation, low education, and seeing how kind of the community, members of the community, have been conditioned to think in a certain way. Yeah. My experiences of kind of not necessarily being fully involved in that, but having certain brushes, but thankfully being able not to get too deep, and then being able to critically think about kind of the environment. I was fortunate enough to volunteer at the youth project that I work in, and they were very, they're an important part of my critical thinking, and not necessarily getting too rooted in that way of thinking and way of acting. And then also, I have experiences in which I share and working with young people as well, hearing their stories. It is a combination of lived experience and kind of observing.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Definitely. I was gonna say, like, with some of the tracks have music as well. Do you play anything? Do you like produce any of the other side of it?
Not producing music, no. But I do find that there's a difference when I'm doing acoustic with no music, and when I am doing with the music, and I think people are more drawn into my poetry with music, and I think that kind of highlights I think there's a deep spiritual thing that happens when you hear a beat and the words are also deep and meaningful, and that it kind of hits the soul a bit deeper.
I agree, man. I live for that stuff. That link between the two. It's like spiritual, isn't it? It's like I can't define like the feeling I get from listening, like that combination. It's like melody and words as a thing. It's like I don't need anything more than that, man. I don't know about you guys. I'm like set if I've got that in my life. Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, man.
Well, it's like the. Oh, hello, George. Hello, it's me. I was going to say, because like the first time I ever met you, Griot, was when we did that little gig at the Armour store with the Berry Blacks band. Yeah. And that was really fun, because like we were just expecting to be a normal gig. But then we got there and it was like, oh, we've got like all these guys coming in and they're going to like do some rapping, do some spoken word stuff over the top of us. And it was two people stood out to me that night. It was you and a guy called Kamani Anderson, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's his name. Apologies, I'm getting it wrong. But yeah, it was just like, when I heard you playing and stuff, it was just like, it was such a refreshing viewpoint on stuff, like, and it's like putting stuff in a way that a lot of people maybe don't see. It's like a new perspective for some people, I think, is the thing that I think is really cool about it.
That's real good to hear, you know, because as a poet, you always have self-doubt.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just think, oh, this is
Dude.
crap.
As an artist,
As an
artist, it's like it's all of the
We've all
fuckers.
been there, man. We've all been there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And like you say, different perspective, and that's what I try to do in that. There might be an audience as well. As much as I want to cater to people who may have lived the same experiences as me, there's some people who don't. And if I can help them to kind of think from the flip side of why does a young person sell drugs? Is he just because he's a criminal and he's a feral youth, or is it because, you know, he's been given the burden of being the man of the house since the age of 10, and his mom's struggling and there's bills to pay, and he just so happens to be brought up in a community where drug dealing is an easy escape and an easy means to income, you know. But yeah, different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to go back on something you said before, just about when you're saying young people and them being like conditioned into a certain mindset.
Yeah.
Could you just sort of go a little bit deeper into what you mean by that?
So in one of my poems, I talk about being shaped by your circumstances, but liberated by your choices. And I think growing up in certain urban, predominantly black communities, there are ways that people in that community have adopted and habits, whether that's low attainment in school and education, poor eating habits with fast food, or whether it's illegal means of income. And I think these kind of ways of thinking are enriched and enrooted in the community. And as a youth worker, I find young people so easy to join that way of thinking and living, and it's until they are proposed with other means of doing stuff. So I had a conversation with a young person who was selling drugs, and then until I was like, well, have you ever thought of starting your own business where you're using the same skills as you're hustling, but in a legal means?
Yeah.
And I don't think those avenues are either given to them as opportunities or created. And I think as a youth worker, that's things I want to try and create for young people.
Right. Cool. So what was it? So you studied Black history. Was it
that was just like
an extra thing you did?
An extra module.
So what did you study? You said before you studied some. What was it?
Yeah. So I initially studied sports development at MMU.
Yeah.
And then I then went to study youth work and theology.
And what was it? What was it that drew you towards going in that direction?
Yeah. So this was 2008. 2008 when a friend of mine who lived in the community got shot.
Right.
And at that time, that just brought a lot of questions about kind of how things are in the community, guns, gangs, and as well, at that moment, I became a Christian as well. And I thought, I was volunteering at my youth project at the time, and I just thought, I wanna do something which is more positive for my community.
Yeah.
And then I enrolled in University of Manchester to study youth work, and my youth project gave me a placement there where I learned youth work, informal education, and it was just, I loved it. I loved it. I thought like, this is definitely for me.
Cool, man. Cool. And in terms of like the stuff that you're doing, is it M13?
M13, yeah.
So what sort of stuff do you do there with the young people? Yeah.
So we kind of support them through all aspects of their life issues, whether it's school, personal life, finding employment, spiritual development. We go out into the community, something called detached work, where we're out walking in the community, building relationships. From there, we're trying to support them with projects, thinking how can they make positive life choices, getting them into different projects. So done a politics project, done anything which is kind of in relation to their needs, and helps them take positive action in their life. So last year we just did a Black History project where we did 4 weeks of learning about Black history, and then invited some prominent young Black people who were doing major things in the community to come and have a sit-down discussion. And yeah, loads of bunch of stuff we do.
Yeah.
But everything is aimed to kind of give young people opportunity to develop.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
It sounds like really rewarding work.
It really is.
That's great, man. For the people at home, where can they find you online? Because I'm sure they're interested in you.
Yeah.
Already.
So on Instagram and Facebook, so it's Griot_Gabriel.
Cool.
You can check me out on there.
Sweet, man. Sweet. So in terms of, I'm just going back to your writing and stuff. When do you decide when a poem is done? Because Matt was saying like you can always come back and like when do you think right that's that one banked?
Yeah. That's a very good question. Very good question. Because there was a recent poem I did, and I released it, and I thought, nah, that wasn't done. And then I think it needs a part 2 because I probably needed to expand on certain stuff. But yeah, it is a very good question. I was initially gonna say you kind of know when it's done, but I guess you don't. I just said you don't know.
Just said. Yeah.
But yeah, initially I tried to think about kind of length and time, so maybe about 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
And kind of how I do my poems, I kind of draw. I like to draw the listener in with maybe an initial story or a plot.
Right.
Explain, and then kind of wrap it up nicely in a, now go off and think and ponder with the kind of the question set or the answer set.
Okay.
And yeah, if I can get that theme across, I think that's when I know it's done.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because obviously like when you're like writing with music, there is like a structure. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you kind of get an idea of when something's finished.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting with the just writing the words. In terms of like what you're wanting to do in the future, are you looking to do more stuff? Because I've seen on your Instagram you've done some more stuff with music. Where was that little studio that you're in?
Oh, my secret.
See, okay.
Never revealed myself. It's a nice little studio, let's just say.
Yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, are you like thinking about doing more stuff with music like that, or?
Yeah, it is a combination of definitely with music, but also sometimes I feel like just with the lyrics. Sometimes allows the listener just to focus on the lyrics.
Right.
And as good as a melody is, I don't want them to be lost in the melody, because I think with kind of the way music is set up, hip hop in general, sometimes you can just lose yourself to the beat. And there's a lot of crap being said, and it goes over their heads into their consciousness, and they're not actually focused on the lyrics. It's just the beat. And so I'm always caught in this tension of I want the audience to listen to my lyrics, and if I can find a beat which supports that, that's even better. So yeah, a combination of just me as a lyricist with no beat, but also with an effective beat that can aid the lyrics.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah, I'd definitely say that I'd fall in the category of listening to the music more.
I do that, man.
I don't know if that's just because like we trained as musicians, so we've got that. We kind of.
It's in our head.
Yeah, we're conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
By nature, you can be sitting listening to a song on the radio and just work out the chord progression in your head,
Yeah.
And then you find out that you're not listening to what's being said. But the other side of that, I guess, is also like a lot of the music that we ingest is pop music, like chart music, where nothing is really being said.
It's vapid shite.
It's just words that sound nice.
Exactly.
That's it.
And accompanied by banging music.
Yeah,
so,
fat donks.
And a girl shaking a big booty or something.
Exactly.
I'd say that. I'd fall guilty of not listening.
Thank you for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to catch up on new episodes every week. Also, check us out on our Facebook and Instagram at RecRooms, where you can find out about our other exciting music series. We also have this and all our other episodes of the podcast up on our RecRooms YouTube channel for your viewing pleasure. See you next time.